Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on a really fascinating exploration. It's into what some might call a hidden history of humanity.
Mm.
You, our listener, pointed us toward some, well, pretty compelling source material, an audio interview, basically, discussing slideshows of artifacts, phenomena, researched all over the globe.
Right.
So our mission here is to kind of dissect this evidence and investigate this captivating possibility. Could a sophisticated global civilization have actually flourished thousands of years ago?
A civilization we're only now starting to piece together.
Exactly. The central question, for our deep dive is just that. Could there have been an advanced, interconnected world culture way back in our distant past that we're only just, starting to grapple with? Okay, let's unpack it.
Yeah, let's do that. What immediately grabs you looking at this material is the sheer distribution of certain structures.
Like the pyramids,
Precisely. The presentation highlights pyramids on every single continent.
which is kind of mind-blowing in itself.
It is. And it's not just that they exist, but as the speaker notes, the similarities, their appearance across places so far apart. It naturally makes you ask, well, who built them? And maybe more importantly, when?
Absolutely. It's easy to think of Egypt, the big ones, as sort of unique. But finding out they're a worldwide thing,
Yeah,
it really opens up a different way of thinking, doesn't it?
it does.
Could that shared design suggest maybe a common origin? Some kind of, knowledge network spanning the globe way back then?
Well, that's the hypothesis, isn't it? The idea of a global civilization starts to feel a bit less speculative.
Yeah, more like a real historical question. And this is where it gets particularly interesting because the discussion moves underwater.
Indeed. The Yonaguni Monument, found in 1984 off Japan's coast, about 25 meters down. It looks like a massive stone pyramid submerged. Now, okay, there is debate. Some archaeologists say it's natural.
Right, erosion and all that. Nature can do weird things. But then the presentation brings in Professor Masaki Kimura's work.
Exactly. And he didn't just look at the one structure. He found multiple similar formations nearby.
See, that's where the natural argument starts to feel a little shaky, for me at least. Multiple, similar, complex structures.
Precisely. Kimura's research points out features that seem, well, distinctly unnatural.
Like what?
We're talking two separate, very defined platforms and what really look like deliberately carved, large stone sculptures on top. A turtle, apparently, and a bird, like an eagle.
Oh, cheers. Underwater.
That's what's claimed. And as the presenter asks, geological processes are powerful, sure, but do they usually carve out distinct animal shapes?
And what about the debris? That's always struck me. If rock is just naturally eroding, wouldn't there be piles of rubble around it?
That's a very good point. The presentation highlights the apparent lack of significant broken down stone. Plus, there seem to be, street features and even something resembling a stadium.
A stadium with seats.
That's the description, like a Roman Colosseum with seating rows and stairs. It strongly suggests, intentional construction.
Yeah, it's hard to picture nature carving out neat rows of seats. The visuals they describe.
Yeah.
A diver looking tiny next to it, a street climbing stairs. It's compelling stuff.
It really is. You see these close-ups, the scale. It's hard to just brush off as natural.
So if it wasn't nature, who built it? And why is it 25 meters underwater now?
Well, that brings us right back to that hypothesis, doesn't it? An ancient global civilization, one that maybe existed before our standard timelines.
And maybe whose sites got submerged by, rising sea levels, geological shifts,
Yeah.
something big.
Exactly. Which leads to questions about when this could have been and what they were capable of.
Which segues perfectly into the next bit. Ancient maps. The Piri Reis map always comes up, right? It's
Right.
early 16th century.
Yes, and for good reason. It apparently shows parts of Europe, Africa, South America with pretty surprising accuracy for the time, centuries before Columbus's voyages were widely known in Europe.
But that's not even the wildest part, is it?
No. What's really thought-provoking is the claim that it also shows Antarctica, but without the ice cap.
Right. And the presentation links this to research from, 1956, about the landmass under the ice.
Yeah, claiming a remarkable similarity between the map's depiction and what that research found, if that holds up.
Then the map, or its source information, has to be old, like 10,000, 12,000 years old, when Antarctica was supposedly ice-free.
Which just begs the question, what kind of navigation, what kind of surveying techniques did they have back then to do that?
It's staggering to think about. Who could map a continent accurately before it got covered in miles of ice? and have that knowledge survive.
It really challenges our assumptions. And Piri Reis isn't the only map mentioned. There's one by Athanasius Kircher, too, showing the Atlantic differently, maybe with a landmass in between.
The blandest, maybe.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
But the Ecuadorian stone world map sounds even more, well, unusual.
Yeah, tell us about that one, found in 84, you said. In a tunnel system.
Right, in Ecuador, along with about 350 other strange artifacts that don't really match known pre-Columbian cultures.
Okay, so already an odd context.
Definitely. And the map itself has weird features. A natural white quartz line running across it, and an inlay, like an eye, over the Near East, near Saudi Arabia.
An eye inlay, okay? And the quartz line goes where?
It apparently goes right across India, Thailand, and then there's this long island shown to the right. Professor Kimura, him again, thinks this might represent a former continent stretching from Japan past Taiwan.
A whole lost continent depicted on a stone map.
That's the interpretation presented. And it gets stranger. On the back, the quartz line continues, crosses the Atlantic over what's suggested to be another sunken landmass.
Atlantis again.
Potentially. Then the line crosses South America and specifically points to the Bay of Guayaquil with another inlay, marking the spot where the artifact was found.
Whoa. So the map marks its own discovery spot.
Apparently so. A place also known for, interestingly, high-quality water. So if this map is genuine and it shows these ancient landmasses...
It pushes that timeline back again, 10,000, 12,000 years ago,
Yeah.
supporting the idea of a really ancient, knowledgeable civilization.
Exactly. It's like a snapshot of a very different world, potentially.
It just keeps getting stranger. Because found in the same place, this tunnel system in Ecuador was something else. The pyramid with the eye.
Ah, yes, that one.
Describe that. A stone pyramid, gray and white.
Yes, with 13 steps. And an inlaid eye. And the presentation makes a point of saying how similar it looks to the eye on the US dollar bill.
Which is curious, to say the least.
Yeah.
But then there's a blacklight thing.
Right. Apparently under blacklight, the eye glows really strongly, and it's described as looking like an eye, but maybe not quite a human eye.
Okay, that adds a layer of high strangeness. And there's more, isn't there? Something about the base.
Yes, gold inlays at the base.
Yeah.
Said to show the Orion star constellation.
Orion again. That constellation pops up in ancient sites all over, doesn't it?
It does seem to be a recurring theme. Finding it here with this pyramid, with the map, it just adds to the puzzle.
But maybe the biggest piece is the writing. There's writing on this pyramid.
Unknown writing, yes. And it was reportedly translated by Professor Kurt Scheldman, president of the German Linguistic Association, knew over 40 languages, apparently, a serious linguist.
Okay, so what does he make of it?
He called it pre-Sanskrit, older than Sanskrit, which is itself incredibly ancient.
Pre-Sanskrit?
Yeah.
Wow. And the translation?
Of the 4 characters visible, his reported translation is, "The Son of the Creator comes."
Son of the Creator comes. Okay. But the really critical part is where else this writing has supposedly been found.
Exactly. This is the kicker. According to the source, this same writing system turns up all over the world.
Where specifically?
Ecuador, Colombia, Illinois in the U.S., Glozell in France, Malta, Turkmenistan, Australia, southern Italy.
Wait, Illinois? Australia? That's global.
It is. If that's accurate, if it's really the same script in all those places, what does that imply?
A worldwide writing system, which
Yeah.
implies a worldwide civilization, older than 6,000 years, older than Sumeria, older than Egypt as we know it.
That's the implication. Professor Scheldman also noted, apparently, slight similarities to the Indus script and the Easter Island script, maybe distant connections, echoes across time.
So let's just take a breath here and recap. We've got pyramids, potentially, on every continent.
Uh-huh.
We've got the Yonaguni structures underwater looking very artificial.
Right.
We've got ancient maps seeming to show the Earth as it was maybe 12,000 years ago, including an ice-free Antarctica.
Yeah.
And now a writing system, pre-Sanskrit, found scattered across the globe, tied to this pyramid artifact from Ecuador.
It's quite a collection of anomalies, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It all seems to point one direction, or at least raises one massive question.
Does all this taken together suggest there really was a previously unknown ancient global civilization? That's the core question emerging from all this evidence.
It's profound. Now, obviously, the evidence presented here is, fascinating. It definitely raises questions, but we need to approach it carefully.
Absolutely. With curiosity, yes, but also a discerning eye. We aren't saying this is definitive proof.
No, we're not here to declare it fact.
Yeah.
But the evidence, as presented in the sources you sent us, it really does push you to consider alternatives, doesn't it?
It challenges that standard linear view of history. It suggests maybe things were much more complex, much more interconnected, much earlier than we usually think.
Yeah, maybe our planet's history is weirder and more intricate than the standard textbooks let on.
Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe for you, our listener, to chew on.
Go on.
If, and it's a big if, but if such a sophisticated global civilization did exist all those millennia ago, what else might have been lost? What knowledge? What technologies?
What understanding of the world or even the cosmos might have just vanished over time?
Exactly. And what would it mean for us today if we could somehow rediscover that hidden history? How would that reshape how we see ourselves, our world?
It's definitely a lot to think about. Really makes you question the narrative we've been told.
It does.
We really encourage you to look into these things further, explore the evidence yourself. Keep asking those big, sometimes uncomfortable questions about our shared human story.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us for this deep dive.